can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Well, these are kind of pumpkins on parade. There's a variety of them. Pumpkins with green on them, and so you can find almost any kind of pumpkin you want. The vines seem to have dried out mostly. There hasn't been any frost, but there's been a drought, so the effect is somewhat similar. I'm looking now at a almost completely green pumpkin, but maybe as the sun and air it'll eventually turn orange, like most of these are. There's, I don't know, probably several hundred pumpkins in this row, but if you look all the way down, and it's quite a temptation. I just hope that the farmer that owns this area doesn't send a mean dog at us. Halloween pumpkins. When you have a Halloween pumpkin, you have to carve a face in it, and you usually like a fairly long piece of stem, so you can make an opening on the top of the pumpkin and take out the seeds and carve it, and then you're able to put a candle or a light in them, and then put the lid that you cut out back on, and all of that is helpful if you have a fairly substantial remnant of the pumpkin stem left. Some pumpkins that you see for sale have all their most of their stem broken off. I thought I heard a noise up at the farmhouse, and this is a pumpkin, so-called. It's probably a little too green, but if it stayed out, you could make a pie out of it. I'm looking now at an almost completely green pumpkin, but you can see this corn has not received enough rain to mature. They're just little blasted ears on it, something like Joseph's 7 years of famine. And I guess this was supposed to be a field of sweet corn because it's not planted thickly the way they plant field corn for ensilage. But the farmer wouldn't be able to get any customers for this corn. So he wrote a little verse, which, as I understand, was put to a old drinking song of some kind, and that's how the combination. But Francis Scott Key was not responsible for the music. So Walter Raleigh was one of the first people to get over from England to the New World, and among his accomplishments was discovering tobacco, and he brought some of the plant back to England and raised it himself and smoked it. The only trouble was that not too many people in England were familiar with the plant and its uses. And on one occasion, he was smoking his pipe at his home, and a servant discovered him doing so and ran out to the kitchen and got a tankard of ale, which he threw over his employer, feeling that Sir Walter was on fire. I don't know what happened after that, but it just goes to show you that not. This is a mallow plant. It's a hardy perennial, has dark red, great big flowers. It's past blooming now, but it has some seed pods with seeds, thanks to another mallow down the line here that provided pollen, because these mallows will not set seed without another clone to cross-pollinate them. Over here is the familiar garden annual, the cosmos with the pink flowers. As you can see here, they haven't been knocked down by the frost. Behind these pink cosmos, which I think is a annual from Mexico, they probably bloom all season in Mexico, but this is the black-eyed Susan relative, which is to say in the Rudbeckia genus, and I imagine this is Rudbeckia triloba, Midwestern native that has gotten quite common in our area here, although it isn't so widespread as the familiar black-eyed Susan, which also comes from the western prairies originally. These leafy things there on the back are lilacs. There's some species type, well, I wouldn't say species, variety type of lilac, and they have the advantage of having different colored flowers, not just plain lilac colors, but they also don't sucker, sending up shoots from all around the way most the common lilac does. The common lilac is kind of hard to put in some places because you have to make sure you can mow down the suckers or it'll sort of take over a flower bed. Mow down the suckers or it'll sort of take over a flower bed. These are Philostachus nuda. Is a species of bamboo that's very hardy, apparently to 25 below zero, and they can get 20 or maybe even 30 feet tall. It has one special advantage, even though it's not really edible, because it has a very sour, tart flavor. But that has an advantage because woodchucks will eat other hardy varieties of bamboo, like yellow grove, Philostachus aureosulcata, and yellow groove, and they have in fact more or less eliminated that species around here. So this however has red tags on it because last winter this bush, you might say, behind us is a variety of Japanese maple, Acer palmatum variety, Disticum, I think. But it's more of a shrub than a tree. You often see Japanese maples growing up 20 feet high or so, but these never get tall, and this is a rather big one of this cut leaf variety of Japanese maple. It's, as you can see, quite colorful on this date of November 4th. And behind it is a rather a tall tree. It's a native tree called sourwood that comes from the Ozark Mountains and other parts of the South or Midwest, and is widely planted all over because of its beautiful fall foliage and persistent seed pods that follow the relatively small flowers early in the season. And nothing is destroyed because nothing existed in the first place. This is a theme that various philosophers have elaborated on, but you have a certain logic, and that is what essentially gives the appearance of reality or existence. But if it comes to the shove, and it doesn't really stand up to being anything permanent, and you might say that it's a matter of how you take it is of more significance than whether it's good or bad. That is, if something seems to be bad, you have to remember that it really doesn't exist at all. Of course, that sounds a little bit like Christian Science, but so why not? But the non-existence of things means that anything that would seem to exist is kind of a precious rarity, and if you can grasp the logic of it and give it some affection, why it can be a luxury, it can be a great pleasure, in spite of the fact that it might otherwise seem to be disaster. Hermes was the Greek version of Mercury, the messenger of the gods, and he had wings on his heels which enabled him to go into all parts of the universe, the heavens and earth, and into the underworld. And his ability to do this was brought him a lot of adventures, but it is possible for us to share in the adventures of Mercury by a curious phenomenon which you can try, which is to walk without stomping and simply spring from the earth as you move along, as if you had the wings of Mercury or Hermes on your heels. And this is aided by a lively rhythmic tune of a possibly Latin or Greek origin that enables you to spring from the earth on the balls of your feet. Welcome to Paradise Pond at Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts. You can see the island there in the middle of the pond, which is, incidentally, the pond, created by a dam on the Mill River, which flows down from Williamsburg or somewhere up to the northwest, and this Paradise Pond is the result. Over here is the president's house, and down there is more extension of the pond. You may see herons and other water birds on the pond from time to time, but not too many ducks. But be that as it may, this is a November afternoon where if you moved around you could see Mount Tom in the distance, or possibly other beauties of nature, especially the colorful sugar maple leaves and various evergreens standing up at different points on this part of the campus. The woods over across the ponds are over toward the edge of the state hospital ground, which would be about half a mile from, maybe a mile from here. The sun is just coming through the clouds up there and gives a rather interesting ray effect, and the edges of the clouds are very beautiful against the setting sun, which is setting fairly early. Well,
there was a time when I was just a boy, and I was happy then, nothing was destroyed. The men in the red coats rode their horses in the sunshine. There was a time you often came home late. There was the time you left the roller skates by the doorway. And I was happy then to watch the sailboats float away in the sunshine. There was a time of softball in the fields. It was the time when no one seemed to feel the sunshine.